I'm Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge.
So one of the most exciting things I heard before you got here was Jeremiah sends me, I go, where are you? He goes, getting in late. I go, why? And then he sends me why. And it was a video of Gagey and fighting.
Gagey getting fired up.
Getting fired up. And I got fired up. And I'm pretty sure you got fired up.
I was fired up.
So tell me about the fight.
4 rows back, baby.
Man.
Yeah, those are my guys. I mean, those are the, fighting at 155, our size. And they are the Mickey Ward, the Arturo Gatti of our generation in MMA. I think, the trilogy, I think, is going to be here. But that was the BMF belt. And that's the baddest dude in the entire MMA.
And they are the baddest dudes.
It was.
Because Poirier, although he got knocked out, is a bad MF.
Gagey just brought it and just unbelievable. The energy in Salt Lake. I go to fights in Vegas, but something about Salt Lake, man. And then it's so funny because that 1 year ago, Leon Edwards had that head kick. In the 5th round with almost a minute left, and that was it.
And he was down.
Bad.
Woo!
Yeah. Changed his whole career, changed our whole division. And then 1 year later, exact same kick.
Oh man!
With a right versus a southpaw, and just to hear that slap and then be there in person and the impact and the energy. I mean, the place went crazy. And I was going for Gagey. I follow him, so.
Oh, I love it.
So good.
That setup was beautiful.
That was so good.
That setup
same
was beautiful.
exact move as last year. Yeah. Yep.
That third round is going to be insane. That third round fight is going to be insane.
It is. It will. But I want him to get the title. So
no doubt. I kind of want him to go get the money. I want him to fight Connor.
Me too.
Just get the money.
Oh, he hates Connor. I know. The fighting's beautiful though, man. Because what that gave me is like this, this feeling of our cheesy world of real estate. But I mean, you know what I mean. It's like it's like still competitive,
no doubt.
And it's still, sometimes you got to get quite focused. And to see that energy in that arena and just how these guys can handle pressure and stress, you're just like, we got a different level of it, and you got to take it serious. But it just dumbs down everything when you test yourself in anything in life.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see that level of intensity
in its purest form.
Yeah, exactly. In its purest form. So if you go and train hard and you push yourself every day, you do something to make yourself better, kind of dumbs down the stress of the industry where you see people get worked up about nonsense.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You're not fighting in a ring, but in a way you might have to you're going to be testing other people, but it's really, if you can just have real control of yourself, I think you're going to win.
That's it, man. And that's the thing is, to translate the lessons, it's those guys can breathe and see and focus and strategize under the most intense pressure. And when you're there in person, it's so different because it's just like everything's on the cage and it's so much energy. You got to be so locked in because it's hard to describe. You know what I mean? How, we just wrestled. So it was, but you just know before the fight, everything gets so worked up.
Or you lose your breath even before you get into the ring.
Exactly. And what was funny about Gagey, he said about that fight, is he goes, I was nervous because I wasn't nervous. It was so calm. It was so present. And he just was like another day. And you could see him even he wasn't all emotionally fired up. So we won't talk about the fight that much. But what I wanted to talk about was with the lesson about that is, the controlled chaos, the calm that you need to, I guess for me, that I need to keep is that in this business, it's an endurance game and it's never over. It's constantly people challenging you, testing you, you have to have that, your will, right now it's midnight and you got to step up and bring it and be focused and get into the right state, good old Tony Robbins 101. And in those moments of weakness, you can't let, just like the moments of weakness where you drop your hand and you get head kicked.
Yep.
I mean, you cannot let your excuses or your mind or something cloud your judgment where you give in. And when I was younger, I didn't have that mental discipline. And I believe over time, the reps, it's all the reps in this industry and the fortitude and just the failures and the wins and the different people that have came and gone and all of it, different markets, different asset classes like that at this stage, just like Poirier said, I've been doing it, for 20 years. And just like, it feels good for me because I, even through the toughest things, if a lawsuit's getting threatened on me or, I get investor attention or a deal is not doing what I expected it to do, markets are shifting, at least I'm okay with the uncertainty. I mean, I can do what I need to do to control my destiny, but I control it day to day to day. And there's nothing that's going to improve me for me to just worry and get my team worried. I'm leading a lot of people, so it's having that composure in stressful times where the guys that really are able to capitalize on those opportunities.
Well, people are looking at you to get that calmness.
Yes.
You have to be that way.
Yes.
Right. Because if you're chaos and you're, disorganized with your thoughts and your behaviors, you're frantic, that leads to other people, that leads to investors, that leads to deals. And so yeah, absolutely. You have to be in complete control over yourself.
Oh, and that osmosis, right? And it's almost, it's that funny thing where the power, like what people talk about, the secret, or what you emit, that in the religious kind of take on it, or spiritual take, what you put out, you get back. And I can see how that translates where, like that I create it with my reaction, my reality, the way I perceive what is going on and how I express myself through those actions. I determine the meaning. Yes. And then I get to choose how I move forward. And then people will make their own choices, but I influence that. Because they're going to look at me and read me and decide how they want to react. And my reaction can create a reaction in them. In either way, either side of the spectrum, I can get chaotic and I can get stressful, intense. And there's a time for controlled tension.
Absolutely.
And there's an intensity. And then there's other times where silence, stoicism, and just patience, right? So for me, and as the stakes rise, it's exciting. And I can see how it's not different, but it's like a different level of confidence, because you can just observe, right?
Yes. Well, that's your flow.
That's it.
That's your flow state. And that's when you're working. I think when people have that stress and because we all have it, right? But if you can harness it and you can use it for the good, and you can just be the one that really just is the energy, is the light, and can bring that to your team, can bring it to a meeting, because you can only really control two things. It's your action and your energy.
That's it.
And you really need, especially now in this environment with uncertainty, at the end of the day, if you go, did I stick to my purpose of my action and my energy? And if you don't bring, especially right now, the right energy to a meeting, to a call, to a one-on-one, then that's your fault.
That's it. Because no one's going to fix that for
no one's going to
you
fix
or
that.
me. I think the big thing for me is always writing in this damn book, or all the books. And I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly listening to content. And then I'm not just consuming, I'm creating. We're creating here, but I want to create my own life. And it comes down to, for me, it's interesting because I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church per se, but it's interesting when you put that level of depth in that connection with yourself and with whatever thing that's out there, God or whatever that belief or faith is. It's any way you slice it, it's a very powerful tool when you know yourself, you know what you value. And when shit hits the fan, you're not scurrying for all these things to fill you up. Right. You know what I mean? Like in the past, I had bad habits, go drinking or go out with stupid friends or go do stupid things. And then as I matured, I don't need any of those things. I like centering in myself. And then I see the value in the darkness. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's some good shit right there. And I can even relate it to my team, where it's like, I love learning in seminars and speaking in that, but it's made in the little choices every single day, right? In real life, every day. And then that's where, and my thing is, and like, it just ties to what we were just talking about, is I want to empower Tim. I want to empower my guys, Shane and Chris, and all my guys that are in my group. That way, that we can, it's not about me. I mean, yes, I want to maximize my fullest potential, and I'm always about that, but it's about help these guys around me leading their teams.
Absolutely.
I was just going over culture we had our town hall meeting in the quarter. And I said that the Patriot way, the success, reading all the Belichick stuff for 20 years, is that he designed this culture, not because he crammed culture down the throat of the players. He built a coaching team that aligned with his culture. He built a coaching team and he found particular players that would buy into his culture. And then the players dictated that culture. The captains dictated that culture to the teammates, and the captains were automatically leaders. He didn't even pick them. The players always pick the captains because, playing on teams, whoever you respect is who you're going to emulate.
No doubt.
Right. And then he can only influence so many people, but he speaks directly to his captains. His captains dictate the standard to the rest of the team. So that level of culture, if you can control that, and obviously it takes great players and intellect and everything else and strategy. But for me, it's like, if I can dictate this culture and my team has the right character, we have the right, capacity to do the work, and you got the right chemistry together. Like, that's how I can translate this stuff where I can't do any more work. Like, I am matched. This is it, where it's fucking midnight. Like, we can't, there's no more time. You know what I mean? So this is it. This is, you're building, and I'm scaling at this stage. So
absolutely.
It's all about the culture, man.
It is all about the culture. And although you call it the Belichick way, I call it the McDermott way. Okay. Over at the Bills. No, but
it's looking that way.
But really, the thing about where we are with the build is we are complete control of our destiny right now. It's me and my partner, and we want to push through, but we also want to be cognizant and want to be purposeful. We want to be thoughtful with our employees. So it's, how do you transfer that into them? Because, there's something about being a manager, but there's another being a leader. And that's where the buy-in is. It's, I can manage all day, but if I'm not leading, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
So we got to get better at that. We're learning that. And it's just going to come through reps.
Yeah. I think the thing, mastering your craft is number one, right? So you got to understand, we just talked about the 3 different projects you're working on. You get really good at those projects. And then obviously you have the right demeanor, and you're hustling and you're working hard. You lead from the front, do everything you're supposed to do, learn it. And then that way you can teach it to other people, because, a loudmouth leader that doesn't really know what he's doing, doesn't really have the values, is not really bought into it. Everyone knows it. So anyway, it's just, I think that's the key.
Let me add to that too. I think what's really interesting with what we're doing, especially with the content, is that what I find is a lot of my employees are now watching it and liking it, right? So I might not have the time always to get my message of, hey, my amped up and the energy and what I know doesn't always come across. Like, it's not always possible to show them that I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly taking this in, and it's not just for me, it's for the business, right? So it's really interesting though, putting it out there, how much those people now expect to see these types of things. Right. They want it, and they get energized by it. And I think people don't think about that in leadership, where they're like, oh, I'm going to keep this in. No, put it out there, because it does affect your employees. It affects their loved ones. Mm-hmm. So when, their wife watches that and they go, I like this guy. I like this guy you're working with. I like this guy you're working with, or, hey, that my mom watched that video you put out and she was like, you're in the right company. That means a lot. I know, yeah. It really does, because these people are making their decisions off of the people in their networks, in their family. And if the family can see that, hey, you're with a good group, keep it going, because you can only sometimes do so much in selling them on that, right?
Yeah, and we're so busy, we don't get to talk to them.
Not all the time. No. And so you can only do those meetings to sell them, but that content's there forever. And sometimes they might just watch that video to get a little pick me up. I love hearing that. It gets me jazzed up and juiced to keep doing this, because my next employee might watch this and go, I want to work for that guy.
Yeah.
It's serious.
Yeah.
For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening to Finding Your Edge.